In this Rhino Grasshopper, you will learn how to make this concrete planter in Grasshopper, change the number of segments, height, and thickness, and finally make it in Rhino and use it in your project or 3D print the model. To get started from scratch, let me explain how you can make this in Rhino, and then we'll convert that into Grasshopper. For example, I'm going to explain this with a triangle. Let's go and use this polygon tool here and change the number of sides to 3 and draw a triangle. You can use the shift key to make it straight. Okay, and I'm going to use the alt key to bring it a little bit up, and now I want to make a face similar to this one. How can we do that? By rotating the top polygon, we can make the faces, the triangular faces. But how much should we rotate this to get the triangles? If I rotate the top polygon and make a 4-point surface here, a 3 or 4-point surface, you can just click the edge and the top corner of the polygon and then right click to get the final result. And you can see that it's not what we want. The reason here is that this top polygon corner should be exactly at the mid of this edge. Okay, so let me explain how much we should rotate the polygon. For example, if we have a square, the degree between this edge and this edge is going to be like 360 degrees divided by 4. It's the number of the edges the polygon had. So it's like 90 degrees, right? If I wanted to bring this corner exactly at the mid edge, which is going to be like here, it's going to be 360 divided by 4 and then divided by 2. That is exactly what we want to do. So for a triangle, it's going to be 360 divided by 3, 120 degrees, divided by 2 is going to be 60 degrees. I'm going to just rotate this 60 degrees. And you can see it's in the mid edge. So I have to use this 3 or 4-point surface to draw the face. Just click on the edges and we will have the faces. Just have to do that again. And you can see how easy it is to make it in Rhino. After we make the solid, it's simply just using a shell command to make the final results. First of all, we have to make a polygon. Let's go to the curve, and in the primitive, you can find a polygon here. And I'm going to use the bifocus plugin so you can see what I'm doing. The default plane is XY plane. We don't want to change that. We just want to give this a radius. I'm going to change the radius and increase the radius here. Okay. The number of segments we need is from 3 to maybe 6. We can change the number of segments and it's really easy. Okay. After doing that, we have to move it a little bit up, exactly as we did in Rhino. I'm going to go to the transform and use this move tool to bring it a little bit up. The geometry we want to move is the polygon, so I'm going to give it here. The motion or the vector we have to give this is in the Z direction. We can double click and search for Z, give it to the motion, and let's just give this a number slider, for example 12 to 300 with 2 decimals. So we can control the number, the movement, and we will have it here. Okay. The next part is to rotate the top polygon. Let's just change that to maybe 5 for a hexagon. Okay. We have to rotate it. I'm going to use the transform rotate 3D tool, which you can also search for ROT 3D. And it's easier because I can rotate the moved polygon. Let's just turn that off. The center is by default 0, 0, 0, which is the default plane of the polygon. We don't have to change that. The axis by default is Z. You can see it here, 0, 0, 1, which is exactly the axis we want to rotate this polygon, right? We don't have to change it, but if you want to, just for more practice, we can give it a Z axis. Okay, right click on the angle. Because we want to give it a degrees, I'm going to change that to degrees and not use radian. And here we have the number of segments. Here we can go and just double click 2 forward slashes 360 degrees, go to math and use this division tool. We have to use that twice. I can divide this by the number of segments, so it's like 72 degrees. Again, divide that by 2 and we will have the rotation. That's it. Now that we have it, we have to make the faces. This is a little bit tricky, but let me explain the basic in Rhino, then we will make that in Grasshopper. It's not really hard, and let's just do that. Okay, to do that, we have to connect the edge to the corners for the bottom part of the polygon. It's really easy. I can even make an array polar of that 0 and say 5 times. There are many ways you can do that, but to learn the Grasshopper and some data management, I want to show you a technique here. Let's bring the base polygon in a curve. I'll bring it here and put the top rotated and moved polygon here so we can learn it easier. Okay, for the top part, I want to explode the curve. So I'm going to go to curve and use this explode tool. We can explode both of those polygons. And you can see that we have the segments and the vertex. Okay, we can go to the surface, and in the freeform, let me zoom in, we have this extrude point tool, which is really great, and it's exactly the tool we need here, right? You can use it to extrude a curve or a surface. For now, we just want to use the edges down of the polygon. So it's like these segments, and the points is going to be these vertices. So I'm going to give it here, and we're good to go. But there is a problem, and the reason here is that you can see we have an extra face. Let me just bake that. You can see we have an extra face. How can we get rid of this? The reason here is that when you explode a polygon, you can see it has 5 segments. That's okay. That's exactly what we need. But for the vertices, you can see it's 6. The reason here is that Grasshopper and Rhino uses, for example, it's going to be something like this: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then again the 0 is going to be a 5, right? And that is the problem. We have one extra vertex instead of the segments. We can fix that easily by going to the sets and use this shortest list tool, which actually filters the outputs. Let me explain. If you give this segments vertex to this tool, you can even increase or decrease the number of inputs and outputs. It's going to check out and see the shortest list. For example, this has 5 and this has 6. It's going to give you only 5 outputs, and that's exactly what we need. You can see we have the final results, and we can change the polygon, for example, to 4, 3. Let me just delete these, and that's exactly what we need. That's it. Okay, and let's do the same technique for the top. So I'm just going to copy this, and this time I'm going to say the segments of the top has to be connected to the vertex of the bottom. Okay, and now you can see it's a little bit twisted, right? Let me just bake this. and you can see that those faces is a little bit twisted. The reason here, we can see it by going to the display and using the point list. And let me just turn on the vertices. It's like 0, 1, 2, 3. Again, we have an extra 4. Let's get rid of that. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3. And how can we get the edges, the number of the edges? The best way I usually use is to go to curve and get this. Let me just find it here. It's in mid edge point. It's like this tool, which is called curve middle. The segment was here, and then give that to the point list and bake it. Here we go. You can see that the 0 is here, but the 0 of the vertex is here. So that is why it's making a little bit of a twist. So how can we fix that? We have to just move the number of the vertices a little bit forward. We can easily do that by going to the sets and opening the list tool and using the shift list. Shift list is going to shift the number of the vertices at the bottom. By default, the shift offset is 1, which is exactly what we need. And instead of this, I'm going to, instead of giving the vertices, I'm going to give the shift vertex. And that's it. Exactly going to fix the final result. And you can see that we have also those 4 faces. Okay. Now let's make a solid. I'm going to go to the params menu and give a surface to both of the bottom and top here. Just a small technique I want to explain. What if I give the top curve first to the surface and then give the bottom? That's going to help us to put the top at the 0 and then the bottom to 1. Okay, that's a small technique I wanted to explain here. And then add the extrusions to the, let's just put that in all in one surface. So I'm going to say, okay, top, bottom, 0, 1, and then use the shift key, add the first set of faces and the second set of faces. But remember, if I go inside, you can see that this is not adding up. It's like group 0, then 0, 0, and then 3 zeros. And that is because the time when these surfaces has been created, they are different. They are in 3 different groups. So if we flatten it, we will have them both 10 in one group, and then we can join it. If you don't know about this, just watch the video about flatten and graft. And those, for the Power Course members, they can have a complete section. We have the data management section. We have talked about each of those parts with more advanced lessons. And let's just go and flatten, right click and flatten this. So we have these 10 faces in one group, and now we can go to the surface and join them together. It's like brep join, and we can just give it here and turn everything off and just double check if it's a closed brep. And yes, we have a closed brep. If you bake it, you will have that in Rhino. Okay, in Rhino you can just type for shell command. Here we go. We can just say we need shell, select the face we want to get deleted, define the thickness, and just right click, get the final results. A little bit small, just increase the thickness to 5 maybe. And here we go. You can see that in Rhino you can easily use the shell. We don't have a shell command natively in Grasshopper. We have to use a plugin. You can install the Pufferfish plugin and put it in the file, special folder, and components folder, right? And then restart your Rhino Grasshopper. In the surface tool, go to the surface tool and scroll down. We have this shell poly surface tool, which is really great. You can also search like shell I have some extra plugins here, but I'm going to use the Pufferfish plugin. Okay, we can give that to the poly surface. Now we need to know which face we want to remove. In Rhino, because we have a clicking interface, which we say, okay, delete this face, we just click that. But in Grasshopper, we're using data and we are just modeling it parametrically, so it's a live model, basically. We have to give the number of the face we want to get rid of. But how can we do that? If I just go to the surface and click on deconstruct brep, it just explodes the brep into 10 faces. I can use this area tool to get the center of each face, and then I'm going to use the display point list to show the number of each face. That's the technique you have to do. Whenever you have a surface or volume, you have to extract a point from it and then use the point list to see the number, okay? And you can see that the first technique which I've explained, you give the top first, then the bottom, is working, and it's actually the first face. And that is really great because we can just go here and say 2/0 and give it to the removal. That's it. Just delete this title, maybe. And also the thickness, which we can change it parametrically 2 to maybe 6 with 2 decimals. And I can give that to the thickness. Change the thickness. Let me just give this a custom preview. I usually also add a surface brep edge to get the edges, and you can see how easy it is to produce that and change the thickness. We can change the radius, the number of segments, and the height. That's really easy. Then we can bake it and have that in Rhino, get the final result. That's it. You can see how great Grasshopper is. It's actually writing those steps in Rhino again in Grasshopper. It's really not that hard, but you have to convert that into steps made in Grasshopper. Okay, thanks for watching. For those who want to learn an advanced lesson on this topic, I have produced a lesson for the parcourse members, which is a triangular facade. It's actually the same, but we have extra techniques. It's a little bit complicated because we have to also add some group data. And you can see I can change the number of face segments, the number of floors I have, like this, the offset distance, and also the thickness of the windows, which we're going to explain in the advanced lesson for parcourse members. So if you go to our website, you will be able to download the basic example file. You can just download this example file from our website and get it for free. And those which are parcourse members, you can also go to parcourse.com if you want to check out more about our course, and then you can download the lesson if you enroll in the course. Okay, thanks for watching. Remember to like this video so it will be shown to more people, and subscribe and hit the bell notification so you get notified about our new tutorials. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask on the comments section, and see you next time. Bye.